Yeah, I'm gonna always rings.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So Mike Wiesner says howdy, and Paul Burgart says howdy and TGIF. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Norm Hughes is watching.
I could watch this sun video all day. That is really
I
beautiful.
I have this actually set for constant loop, and I did watch it a lot.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's beautiful stuff.
We do need a sunspot like that for the upcoming eclipses. That would be nice.
I think the eclipse, when the eclipses get here, it's going to be amazing.
I do too. I
Yeah,
definitely do. After
for
what I saw in Alaska, I truly believe that.
yeah. We have this special guest coming on tonight. Her name's Terry Mann. Have you met her?
No,
No.
I have not.
She's really nice, really smart. So,
Oh boy, yes, and I need to meet that woman.
oh yeah, yeah. I think you two could be friends.
I think probably so.
Hmm. There's a group called Astronomical Transients. I'm not sure what that means, but
Hmm.
wow, look at this.
That's, oh my gosh.
That's beautiful.
It is amazing when you can really look at the surface. I mean, look at this and watch what happens on the sun. I mean, actually
Yeah.
looking at a star.
Well, everybody, this is the debut of our first episode Eclipse Experience. I can't even say it, but I do love them. And so we're going to cover in this program about lunar eclipses and solar eclipses and how to get ready for them and where to go and what kind of gear to get and that kind of thing. I'm here wearing my cowboy hat because, well, it's just my lucky cowboy hat, and I wear it during star parties and eclipse events, and also when I do outreach. So, and that's what we're doing right now is astronomical outreach. And with me today is Terry Mann, Secretary of the Astronomical League. Terry's getting ready this afternoon or this evening for the 16th Astronomical League live program. So maybe we should talk about that a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming, May lunar eclipse that's coming up. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott. AO Live tonight, we are going to have John Wincevich on, and John will be speaking about the Lagrange points of the James Webb Space Telescope, talking, and I imagine covering some of the James Webb Space Telescope too. So that will be very interesting. We're going to have Carol Orge, and we're going to have me. And I think tonight, I am going to talk about a little bit about my trip to Alaska for one thing. And part of the reason that I want to start planning an Aurora adventure is from what I saw in Alaska this time. And with Solar Max coming up, it was incredible. The images, the colors, everything. And what I really like, Scott, is that will tie in with your solar eclipse and eclipses that we're all going to be going to, because if you're an Aurora chaser, you're watching the sun, and eclipses are just it's even better yet.
All byproducts of the sun. That's right.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of elbow my Aurora talks in with your eclipse talks, if you let me a little bit, because I think that's something that will tie in really well together about solar observing. There's many things that you can do in astronomy, and a lot of them overlap. So I think that's real impressive. So tonight we will talk to Carol. We'll talk to you. You're our,
a little bit. You can say hi.
Yes, you're our guru for broadcasting. David Levy should be there, and Carol will be doing updates about the league, and then we'll have John speaking about the James Webb Telescope. So we have quite a bit going on tonight. We're going to start at 7 a.m. 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
I've done it before. I've gotten up really early before for these things, but
yeah. Well, with astronomy, you get up when you have to if you want to see it. But anyway, we will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we really hope you are there. We'd love to see you there, and we're going to start some new adventures here.
Great. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So, I really hope to see a lot more of your Aurora. I can't even hardly say Aurora. I feel like I got like a mouthful of marbles or something. Aurora.
Yes.
Aurora. But I have seen myself two pretty amazing aurora. One of them was I was flying from Heathrow Airport in London, and we went over Greenland.
Oh, wow.
And I was looking from the airplane window, and I saw this ginormous, beautiful aurora display. And I am yelling, I've told this story before, but I'm yelling out at the other passengers saying, "Oh my God, look at the aurora outside." And no one looked out the window. I couldn't believe it. I just wanted to like slap those guys, So, but it was beautiful, and I really, really enjoyed it. So, and then the second time I saw aurora was in Canada at the Starfest event.
Oh yeah, I've been to Starfest. That's a nice event.
Yeah, and it was kind of like the curtain kind of aurora that you would see. It wasn't real strong or real vivid.
Yeah.
But what I saw from the aircraft was, and that was just amazing. So
yeah, that's one thing I always do, because I know when I'm flying out of Seattle, I
Yeah.
sit on the north side of the plane so I can watch. Usually within an hour of being outside of Seattle, I have aurora all the way to Fairbanks out the
Mhm.
window. And I'm like you know, I'm taking pictures, I'm doing video, and I'm saying, you guys see this? But
I
most of the
know.
time there's people from Fairbanks sitting right there with me, and they're like, yeah, it's the aurora. And
You
I'm
know, I have now spent the better part of my life telling people, hey, have you seen this? You want to look at this? You know, trying to get people to look through my eyepiece or through my binoculars or something, you know, to
yeah,
show them Saturn or the moon and stuff. And most people, when you're showing them astronomical phenomena, they're pretty impressed. They're blown away. But
yeah.
occasionally you run into that person that doesn't want to even look, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah,
God, why is that? I don't know, you know.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
they
You
look and
know
they
what?
go, is that it? That's what you're looking at? You know, and you just, I keep a little plastic hammer to hit people in the back of the head with, you know,
You
just
probably
to say,
do.
look, you're looking at something that's
Yeah, when
millions of light years
actually,
away or a million miles away, you know, in the
I
case of
know.
like Saturn, for example. But
Yeah, with your own eyes. But you know, I think
yes,
that because they're so used to seeing pictures, when you actually see it with your own eye, it looks so much different than our images do.
yes,
And you know, but it's still so incredible to see it with your own eye, I think.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's and I've
Absolutely.
also noticed when when there's people looking through the telescope when we do outreach events, they relate more to the moon or to something that they can actually see in the sky. I could show them a nebula or a galaxy, and it
Hmm.
really doesn't register as much with them as except when I show them the moon, and then they can see the craters and they can see the
They
detail.
relate. Yeah.
Yeah, they can relate to that as far as size, distance, whatever. It gives them something to relate to. And when you're looking at a galaxy that's, you know, light years and light years away, it's very hard to register because
Oh,
it
it's hard
seems
to
in
wrap your mind
astronomy.
around the distance
Yeah,
and the size
exactly.
and the dimension of things, you know?
Yeah,
So, you know, I think maybe the moon certainly is more accessible. People know that there's craters on the moon, but, you know, think about all the centuries of, or maybe thousands of years of people looking up at the moon and, you know, thinking that they were perfect spheres, you know,
yeah,
and Galileo being the first one to actually, or one of the first ones, he wasn't the first, but one
yeah.
of the first to see the craters and mountain ranges on the moon and stuff like that and recognize them as, hey, these are, you know, this is not a smooth surface, you know. So
Yeah.
and you know, so many people, when we do sidewalk astronomy or we're showing a group of people for the first time, I'm just always blown away by how many people go, wow, this is my first time to ever look at the moon through a telescope, you know? So for those of you that are, you know, into astronomy outreach, you know, you've got a grand opportunity, especially if you're in the eastern half of the United States. You know, we're going to get it here in Arkansas, but you know, on May 15th, the night of May 15th to the 16th, we're going to have a major total lunar eclipse. They're calling it the blood moon because you know it turns red during the when the Earth's shadow completely covers the moon, and I think that's due to kind of like the sunset light, you know, that reddish light casting on to the moon's surface. Um, but it's beautiful, and I know you're going to see it, Terry. When do you think
Yeah.
that?
I think I'd start somewhere. I think it's around 10:28, 10:25, something like that. And I
Mhm.
know maximum eclipse, I believe, is at 12:12 a.m. in Eastern time zone. Scott, will you see the whole thing in Arkansas?
I believe so. I'm starting to study the. You know, there's a really great visualization of the path, and so.
Yeah.
But one thing I know, all the guys down, you know, Caesar, Brolo, and all those guys in Argentina, you know, the people in Brazil that we talked to, the people we talked to in Chile, you know, I have friends in Central America as well. They're all like totally stoked about this
Uh-huh.
because they're all going to see, you know, the complete, you
Right.
know, totality of that. And, you know, um, Marcelo Souza in Brazil has held moon eclipse parties, lunar eclipse parties, where thousands of people, like I'm talking over 10,000 people came to his events to go see this.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
you know,
Wow.
I get, you know, I'm sitting on a street corner, I get a couple of hundred people to look through my scope, which I'm always pleased to do.
Yeah.
Let me share this link so that you guys can see it. Okay, this is timeanddate.com. They're pretty good. I know there's other good
Yeah.
sites, but they did have a great visualization of the eclipse that you can play. And so,
I use that quite often. It really does. It gives you a choice, and you
yeah.
can go see where it's going to look like somewhere else. Because for me, I'm probably going to have to be watching for cloud cover because I'm probably going to have totality of clouds.
Oh,
That's the way it usually is in this area. So I usually try
another
to,
kind of totality.
yes, that totality I have
So you
quite
get
often.
totality more often than not.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. So I'm
Right.
always looking for clear skies, someplace I can hit the road and try to go see something.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, that's one of
Well,
the,
and I've seen astronomers actually do that, especially when it comes to a solar eclipse. I mean,
definitely.
they'll be listening to the weather, local weather and stuff, and try to be as mobile as they can. But
Yeah,
more often than not, you know, you want the spot you pick is usually the spot you're going to stay, especially if you're setting up gear,
that's
a
it.
lot of it, you know, and you don't have help.
Yeah.
Trying to throw it all back into a car or something. You know, I've even heard people getting in small private airplanes and flying to another place, you know, so
Yeah.
you got the bankroll for a small private airplane, then, you know, that's got to be the ultimate way to go. But
Yeah.
anyways, lunar eclipses, we've had pretty good luck with them here in Arkansas. And we're really looking forward to this May 15th, May 16th event.
Yeah. So am
Um,
I, but
yeah.
I'll probably, yeah, it's like you said, though, when you're packing equipment and you're trying to image and you're trying, what you're trying to do once you're set up, it's really
Mhm.
hard to quickly, you have to kind of judge ahead of time, look ahead of time and try to figure out the best thing. And, it doesn't always work, but
Doesn't always
at least,
work.
it gives you a chance to try to see it.
That's
So
right.
that's why I ended
Good.
up in Kansas on one of the total lunar eclipses we had here a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
I ended up in Kansas. And
Wow.
I thought, yeah, I was at a KOA. I'd got a cabin at KOA. And I
Okay.
thought, I tried to hide, because I've got cameras rolling, I got a telescope, and I
Yeah.
tried to stay out of view of everybody, and they found me. And it is amazing. All of a sudden, I was swarmed with people that were
Oh,
taking
right.
pictures of the picture on the back of my camera.
Sure.
Everything was set
Oh,
up.
they were like snapping pictures of just
Yeah,
like your
I
little
had people
screen in the back.
surrounding me with their camera, taking pictures of it as it came back on my camera. And
Right.
there was no telescopes to look through because I had a camera on the one and then I had binoculars, But it was amazing because there's always interest in that. Even if people
Of
don't know
course.
it's coming, you look up and see there's an eclipse, you're thinking, if there's anything to look through, you're gonna look. And
Yeah.
everybody anymore does phone cameras, so
Sure.
you're instantly, and I've had that happen with Aurora too. When I'm imaging Aurora, people just come up and say, "Oh my gosh,"
Oh, yeah.
they
Yeah.
take pictures of the back of your camera. So it makes it kind of hard to move around sometimes when you've got a couple instruments
Right.
running. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I know
anyway,
you go up there. It's these trips for you to go capture aurora they're expensive to start off with, and then you have no guarantees that you're going to see them. But
yeah,
how many aurora trips have you made, Terry?
you don't really want to know.
I do.
I have been
Or do
up
you
there
even remember?
17 times. Fairbanks,
Wow.
I am so familiar with I can do Fairbanks. I don't usually venture down to Anchorage because it's too far south unless we have a
Yeah.
good CME. So I'm usually in Fairbanks and north, or I have been down to Delta Junction, down towards that way.
Hmm.
But most of the time, I try to stick around as far north as I can because I want to have the most opportunity to see anything. And so when I go, I stay for a while because it's such a long. It took me 20 hours to get home when I came
Oh
home
my
this
God.
month. Yeah, it was because of work of shortages and strikes and
Sure.
so it definitely, that's my longest record of getting home. But I think I was up a total of 38 hours by the time I was checking out of one hotel and trying to get everything ready to
Oh
pack.
my
So by the
God.
time I got home, yeah,
Yeah,
but that's just part of it. There's a lot of people that can relate to that.
sure.
It's just something you go through when you want to do something you really enjoy.
Oh yeah. Well, there are. I know that I think it's in Japan that they travel to Alaska and Canada.
Yes.
They want to see the aurora. Now, I don't know the mythology that the reasons for it exactly, but I think that they have a whole deal about it, and
Yeah. Yeah. They
I
have their
think
own
that when
culture
you
about it.
see it, the feeling I get from seeing an aurora is just this incredible display of nature that just is so out of the ordinary, and it just makes you think, wow, what's going on, with our interaction with the sun, if you know that much, and as
Yeah.
amateur astronomers we do. The same thing happens when you see eclipses of the moon and the sun especially because you see this incredibly like pinpoint alignment, of the
Yeah.
moon going in front of the sun exactly perfectly. The sun's so much bigger. I mean,
Yeah.
millions of times bigger than the Earth, than the moon is, but it's that distance
Yeah.
that's just perfect, and it just makes you think it's magical.
It is. And when that diamond ring hits, oh my gosh,
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
love the diamond ring. I mean, totality is fantastic, but boy, do I love the diamand ring. Just
Yeah.
watching that on both
And
second.
I have not met anyone that has seen a total eclipse that that wasn't transformed. I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
are transformed, and so, um,
Yeah.
I have seen three of them now, and can't wait to see these next couple of ones coming up. The annular, I've never seen an annular before.
Really?
I was
Yeah.
clouded out for an annular that I tried to see in California one time, and then but to get this next total is going to be really fantastic. So
Yeah. Well,
another
the
reason why I have
annuals,
this cowboy hat on, we're going to be in Texas. Okay,
there
so
you go. Yeah, but
and I'm born from Texas, so there you go. I'm allowed to wear this hat. Um, Mike Overacker says Japanese culture says special blessing if a child is conceived
yeah.
under an aurora.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's very special.
Yep. That would be.
Okay, well, Ernie Jacobs says an Aurora trip is on his bucket list. So when you start those Aurora expeditions, Terry,
Yeah.
we're going to want to get people lined up because
Yeah.
you want to go with someone that's experienced and knows where to go, how to do it, and all the rest of it. And if you're watching her programs, um, you're going to learn, I'm sure, photographic techniques and a zillion tips that you
Yeah.
really couldn't get anywhere else except for someone that's so experienced like that. So,
Well, we will cover everything. And I'm going, my plan is to go back in the fall of 2023 because I've been to Alaska in the winter and the summer, and I have not been there in the fall. So I'm looking at September, October, going back in 2023. And I'm considering taking a workshop. Um, I haven't quite made up my mind if I want to, do that or if,
sure.
well, as it gets closer, I will definitely make up my mind. I've done them before. It's just for a while. It's kind of nice when you are on your own and you can just take your time and do what you want to and kind of zigzag all over the place. But it's also nice when you've got a group together because it makes it so much more fun.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everybody learns from everybody else. And you get so excited when you see that spectacular display that,
Oh, I can
it's
imagine.
really great to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. Well, I know you have to get ready for Astronomical League Live, so
Yeah.
we'll let you
So,
go. And
yep,
Terry,
please
thanks
join
for
us
coming on
tonight.
to our first program. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you,
Okay,
Scott.
thanks. So we're going to roll, because a lunar eclipse is a lot easier to get to, okay? You don't have to be like on a center line or anything like that to get to a lunar eclipse. because it casts a really wide shadow. And so that's the reason why all of Antarctica is going to see this, all of South America, all of Central America, and half the United States is going to get this as well, half of Canada as well, I believe. So, but photographing a lunar eclipse is a little bit different. And so I found this video from the European Space Agency from a guy who is going to give advice on photographing a lunar eclipse. We'll roll that now.
I'm Miguel Pérez Ayuca, and I'm an engineer working for the European Space Agency. Lunar eclipses are quite a common event, so they happen more or less twice per year. It happens when the moon is shadowed by the shadow cone of the Earth, and the sun, the Earth, and the moon are kind of perfectly aligned in space. So today I'm going to show you a bit how we image such eclipses. The best moment, the moment where the total eclipse occurs, is a bit longer than an hour. In that moment, it's not completely dark, the surface of the moon. What we see from Earth is a glow in pinks, pink color, red colors, orange color, very beautiful. It's really the view of all the sunsets and sunrises that are happening in the Earth at the same time, projected into the surface of the moon. So it's a very unique event and very beautiful. So we have three setups. We have a very basic setup that is basically a tripod and a camera with low magnification. We have a second setup that is also camera and a tripod, but this camera has a photo lens. So we have a higher amplification of the image, or magnification of the image. So we can see the moon bigger in our CCD. And this is the, let's say, the more advanced setup, where we have a real telescope, full telescope, with a camera as well attached to it, taking the images. So for the very basic setup, we have a tripod, so that it gives stability to the image, and a camera on top. Probably a 35 millimeters lens, so that we can see an ample area of the sky. And we will just leave the moon drift, and then we can compose a nice image with all the moons progressing and how the eclipse progresses. For the a bit more advanced setup, so with this type of telelens, that is something between a normal camera lens and a telescope, we can have magnifications of more or less, well, this one is 500 millimeters, so we will have the moon that is probably a quarter of the image of on the CCD of the camera. Again, we need a tripod for stability of the image taking, and now we are going to use a device that will take the images for us, so that we don't need to touch the camera. These devices have a timer, and you can say every minute take an image of the moon. For this specific setup, as you see, it doesn't have any tracking device, and it has quite some magnification on the moon. So the moon will move really fast. So you will have to be adjusting the position of the camera by releasing the knobs of the tripod and tracking it. As well, the exposure times cannot be very long, because you will really see a bit of the blurring as the moon moves in your CCD. So for the penumbral part of the eclipse and the early partial eclipse, you can use exposures of 1 millisecond up to maybe 10 milliseconds. That should be good enough with a fixed setup. For the full eclipse, total eclipse, you will have to expose a bit more, so probably up to 100 milliseconds. So there you might start seeing a bit of the blurring, and that's why if you want really sharp images of the moon, you need to go to a mount device like the more advanced setup that we have, in which we are really tracking the moon. So we need a telescope that has a quite large aperture, so we can have images that are very short exposure times to avoid any blurring for the atmosphere. So in this case, we have a kind of 1 meter focal length telescope with 25 centimeters aperture, and we have put again a reflex camera, and we'll start exposing at a regular interval. We use against an intervalometer, so a device that will allow us to not touch at all the device while the event happens. In this case as well, we have mounted it in a mount. So the mount will, we will set it up such that it tracks the moon as it progresses in the night sky. So we really will not have to touch even the tripod or any of the device during the observation. With this type of device, you will get the best images of the moon. The moon will change quite a lot the brightness during the eclipse. So we will start really bright as the full moon, and will slowly dim its light. So you will need probably to be changing the exposure time of the image. And remember that it's a slow event, so it takes 5 hours for the full event to develop. So you will have time to do tests on your camera. So the best is that you try several settings until you reach an image that you like, and then you continue with that. The eclipse occurs in the night, that's clear. So it's important that you have warm clothes. Also, it's interesting if you can have some baffles that you can put on your lenses, because the dew and maybe ice, you can maybe have condensation on the lenses. So with that, you will avoid quite a big part of it. Remember as well to have your batteries ready before the event. So fully charged batteries, your SD card fully empty. You can also image the moon from inside your house if you feel like better to be inside of the house through a window. So the moon is very big, it's 0.5 degrees in the sky. So you will have some blurring of due to the thermal movement of the atmosphere, especially you have difference between the inside and the outside. But in general, the moon is big, so you will have pretty good images also from home. Of course, you will need to check first the weather forecast. We depend on the weather to take the nice images, or in fact to have any images maybe. So I wish you all clear skies. Yeah, have a great observation of the moon.
Well, that was a couple of really nice videos from the European Space Agency. Again, you know, the effect of an eclipse that they can have on people is just spectacular. I saw my first eclipse from Mauna Kea. I was invited to go up there with the science program team NOVA. They broadcast on WGBH on public broadcasting station. And so it was a real honor to set up telescopes and everything there. But we're surrounded, we're on Mauna Kea, you know, and so there is lots of professional solar astronomers there, you know, and very specialized equipment. You know, they had put basically a white light solar filter over one of the very large telescopes there. And they had special instrumentation to observe the coronal features on the Canada-French-Hawaii telescope, the CFHT, where we were set up. What I learned about their work is that they were trying to understand how the temperature can increase from just several thousand degrees to millions of degrees up in the corona. And so that was the science that they were trying to conduct. They did get lots of high resolution data back in 1991. What NOVA got was the highest resolution imagery on 35 millimeter motion picture film. So we ran 3 cameras through on mounts that I had supplied, and there were other photographers doing time-lapse work with it, and they put together this whole episode called Eclipse of the Century. It was a NOVA program. I don't even think you can get it on DVD now, but there are little snippets and clips of it that you can see on YouTube. And so it was an amazing experience. It really just, seeing an eclipse, you just can't really be prepared for it. No matter how many photos that you see of it, how many videos you watch of it, the effect of it itself is just unbelievable. When the eclipse did go down, I saw the professionals run out of the control room of the CFHT, and they just were, their hands were at their sides, their jaws were dropped open, as they watched this totality experience. So I really encourage any of you, especially here in the United States, and anywhere close to the United States, or travel to the United States, to see this thing in 2023 and 2024. You guys are picking up echo here. It was because I had to mute something on my audio system, so I just did that. But thank you very much for letting me know. There is, why is the corona hotter than the surface? I still don't really know myself, but it is better understood at this time than it was in 1991. It was a complete mystery at the time, but there are physics papers written on it. So anyhow, Mike Wiesner saying I have to drop off now, heading to Oracle State Park. Now, Oracle State Park is where we're going to host the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party, September 21st to the 25th. So Mike is very involved with that park. And if you didn't already know it, because we've probably said it a million times, Oracle State Park is Arizona's first dark sky park, recognized from the International Dark Sky Association. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But on this program, I'm going to bring on eclipse experts. We're going to talk about all the tools that you could use to observe an eclipse, including like specialized apps that you can have on your phone for timing and that kind of thing. We do want you to get the best out of your eclipse experience, because the 2024 total eclipse of the sun will be the most watched science event in human history. They estimate something like over 500 million people will actually see totality in this particular event. And that will be double the amount of what people saw in the 2017 total eclipse that raced across America. And if you saw that, you got a little taste of what's to come. The eclipse duration will be in some parts of the United States, 4 minutes and change. We are heading down to Texas, into Texas Hill Country, going west of San Antonio, and we'll be on a private ranch. And so we will offer people the unique opportunity to observe 2 different eclipses, the annular eclipse in 2023 and then the total eclipse in 2024. I will put down the page here in chat so you can learn more about this experience. We're still putting in new information as we go along here, but it's Explore Scientific eclipse, and there you go. I wish you guys have a great weekend. Tyler Bowman normally would be on this time slot for Focus on Astrophotography. He had to take the day off from that, but he'll be back next week with a special guest. And until that time, the next time you see this program, I'll have a special guest on. David Eicher has agreed to talk from Astronomy Magazine, has agreed to talk about what Astronomy Magazine is going to be doing for the total eclipse in 2024. So until that time, thank you. Thanks for watching, and I wish you clear skies. Take care.